Street Beefs family, what's up, y'all? Face with you. Some of you watched my live the other day. I brought on my uncle, Michael Jackson. Told y'all a little bit about him. He's a prison professional. He's been in it for many, many years. I think you're coming up on 27 years.
27 November.
So, you know, when we started the live, a bunch of people, I think, misunderstood what we were like. We were going to be on here glorifying prison. No. When I started Street Beefs, the goal was to keep people from killing, dying, and going to prison. That was the goal, okay? I always say, go watch our New York Times piece, Guns to Gloves. It'll tell you what my attitude and mindset was. So I brought my uncle on because he's seen the consequences.
Right.
You know, you said, you talked about this on the live, but just real quick. Said there was a young man, gets in a fight, had never been in trouble before, and what happened?
So basically, he's a 25-year-old guy. They go to a bar with his brother. Guy bumps into him. He turns around. They have words. They go out to they go out to the parking lot. They get in the fight. One punch knocks him out. He lands on the concrete. Brain bleed, skull crack. 4 hours later, the guy's dead, and he's charged with murder.
So originally you said they charged him with first degree.
Right.
And then they had to drop it down.
Yeah, they had to back it off because it wasn't premeditated.
And his sentence was 20?
20 flat.
So guys, 20 years for 30 seconds spent outside a bar, okay? You know, some of you think that Street Beefs is about sporting MMA and boxing. That's not why I started this. I started it to try to make a difference, okay? And the message is stop killing each other, stop getting into street disputes. You know, if you're that aggressive and that angry, join a gym or find God, you know? Speaking of which, so do you see a lot of guys that come into prison and then kind of realize they threw the life away and they try to find religion and other stuff?
Yeah, they do that, but I tell all the guys that I work with that, you know, everybody's 30-second decision away from going to prison, because in any moment of heat of anger or anything, you can make that wrong decision and you end up in prison. And that's what we're trying to teach these guys not to do, not to be impulsive and never make these decisions out of anger or just because you want to have some excitement in your life.
That reminds me, and I don't know if you'll feel comfortable answering this, but, you know, I had a CO many years back that I was going back and forth with, and he's like, well, y'all are in jail, blah, blah. And I said, dude, and pretty much every CO cop probably has had one time in their life where they drove home drunk. They had a couple beers and they broke the law. They just didn't get caught. And there's a lot of people out there that just ain't been caught, but your day may come. And I say don't judge everybody harshly. Instead, try to lend a hand. What you do is about rehabilitation.
Right.
And you kind of run a unit that specializes on getting people ready to go back into life.
Right. It's a substance abuse treatment unit, but we also teach them about fatherhood, about credit, about putting the whole person together, because you can't just fix one thing and leave all the rest of them alone. You got to put it all together as a human being, and that's the way you'll be successful. You got to have it all. You can't have just pieces of yourself. You got to put your whole self together.
In full, yep. Guys, so I'm going to be bringing, like I said, a guest on each weekend. I'm going to be bringing my uncle once a month to kind of give us updates on how things is going in his job and just talk about current issues. We tried to talk about the issue up in, I think it was New York, with COs,
yeah.
but that got flagged. So we're going to talk current events, etc. Go give him a follow. The Other Side of the Cell, y'all. The Other Side of the Cell here on YouTube. Name of the channel. Uncle Mike, thanks for coming on. Appreciate all y'all that watch, man. See you soon.